Okay, my name's Colin Yates. I'm a practicing artist. I've been an artist for about 40 years. I won't give my age away. A teacher for about 30 years. I've got a not-for-profit company which I started about 10 years ago because it helps with grants and applications, and that's where I do a lot of my community work. I've got a little leaflet because I've actually finished the heritage project that I've been involved in. I finished it in December. So I think it was Gary and Horace have said about information being free, and apart from please don't download my artwork, but you're more than happy to still use the ideas and the resources that I've got. And you'll see there that also there's, apart from the heritage project, you'll see down here there's the Phil Vasili archive. Phil's been mentioned a couple of times in I think Nick Bailey mentioned Phil as well as the person that discovered Walter Tull, his biographer. And Phil's part of our heritage deal was that we put Phil's archive on, which hasn't got any copyright. You can download that and just use that. So please feel free, and we'll be uploading that and adding to it as even though we've finished the project, it's still sort of ongoing. I'd like just to mention how I got to be interested in the subject, because this is how I do my talks, by the way. I just put in, there we go, I'll put in some slides on my website. Many years ago, I'm just an amateur footballer, a pub footballer, and playing in Coventry. It's a multicultural team. We encountered severe racism when we were playing. This picture doesn't really, the team that I played for was actually a lot more multicultural than this, but that's the only one that I've got to show. It wasn't a straightforward incident. It wasn't as if it was sort of white v black. The lad that actually abused one of our Asian footballers was white and from an Irish background, and this young lad was clearly going to get beaten up at the end of the match. We were, as I say, a multicultural team. The other team were multicultural, and it really kicked off. Fortunately, we were able to defend ourselves. We had a few of the lads were pretty good boxers, but I can always remember one female supporter, I'll use the word lightly, supporter, get a stiletto off and hit our goalkeeper over the head, Asian goalkeeper. It was awful. Absolutely awful. I'm being a little bit glib about it now, but I can remember I was sick to my stomach, because when you are confronted with real violence, it's not like, you know, in the movies. Some people can fight, some people go and run and hide in a van, you know. So, and I was creating artwork about the subject of football at the time, and then this was this major incident right in front of me. So I thought, right, I know quite a lot about football. I'll just do a Hall of Fame of 11 black footballers. I knew the players from the 1970s, Albert Johansson, Clyde Best, Ricky Heppolet, the sort of unknown sort of Asian footballer. So I thought, right, I had a vague idea of doing a shooting star project about black footballers, the history of black football, and using it in education. So this is how I started, really. We're talking about hidden histories, aren't we, really? About information. The hidden history of black and Asian football. Brendan Batten put me in touch with Phil Vasili, and I remember going down to see him in my Ford Cortina in Cambridge, and that day was just probably one of the best days of my life, because I said to Phil, oh, I've got all these players from the 1950s, and he said, oh, have you heard of this guy, Walter Tull? This was in 1996, 1997. No. Arthur Wharton, Andrew Watson, Gil Heron, who was the father of the musician Gil Scott Heron. This whole history. So for me, instead of it being a shooting star project, I've been working on this project called Black Looks for 17 years. I've used it in schools. I've worked in about 350, 400 schools. So I've just plugged Phil's book because he's the, you know, he really does know an awful lot about the history of black and Asian football. And so he introduced me to Walter Tull. I did those portraits in the late 1990s. It was, I did Walter Tull as a sort of Andy Warhol figure, because Warhol did a lot of celebrities, and I thought, well, Tull should be a celebrity. So I used a lot of styles, I used a lot of genres for my work. I'm going to race through this. I don't normally talk as quickly as this, but I'm just wary in that I've got 10 minutes, okay? This is Arthur Wharton. To say, once you get involved in the history, it's absolutely fascinating. I can see Gary's nodding his head about Arthur. He's absolutely amazing. And then you get a new bit of information come up. There's a photograph of him. Those aren't goalkeeping gloves. He worked in heavy industry, so they're forearm protectors. So you'll know from your talk about with Walsall as well. So you get that little extra bit of historical information. It all helps. So as I used to go into schools, go into a classroom, you're going to have 50% girls and women. So I always used to talk about women's football, and there were sort of, at the time, there were quite a lot of pictures of Nettie Honeyball. What a fantastic name that is, a Victorian footballer. So I would bring in that sort of information because I didn't want to exclude the females and the women in the class. Not everybody's into sports, not everybody's into football, but it really is a good way in, especially for people that are underperforming or not doing as well as they should be. I've just highlighted here with a nice big red V, as you normally do. This is Emma Clark, the world's first black footballer. Just one of the guys that I work with on a women's football project. Stuart Gibbs has done a lot of research about women's football, and we did think it was a woman called Carrie Boosted, but now we find it's this young lady, Emma Clark. And that would be that would be around about 1890. So what I do with the black looks is I've had several strands for the project, which I've used in the Heritage Project. So I have a traditional main exhibition, and I started off at the Herbert, Birmingham, the Mac. It went over to the European Parliament in Brussels. It was quite exciting at the start. It was quite scary because I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't have an awful lot of work, so I was having to really work quite quickly. And but I've sort of exhibited quite a lot in big sort of solo exhibitions up and down the country. I tend not to do so many these days. So they do take quite a lot of, as you'll know, they take a lot of organisation. The big thing for me was to get a portable exhibition going. Because Horace, you've mentioned about the costs. A lot of schools haven't got the money to get into, to sort of get you in. On a practical point of view, bringing artwork into a class can be a nightmare. Original artwork. Do you want the kids to touch it? Do they know how to touch artwork? Do you want them to see? You know, we have a photographer there. It's the same problem, isn't it? Bringing original photographs into a classroom situation. You want young people to pick them up, touch them, or are they behind a glass case? So I developed a sort of portable exhibition. I don't know if you can see it here. And there's me pontificating as normal with my hands out. This was with the portable exhibition, I can literally take it anywhere. So I did a football match at Shirley Football Club where I had quite a lot of schools from Liverpool, Birmingham, London playing. And I took it in the stands. Originally they said, we've got a cafe, do you want to put it in the cafe? And then I said, well, why can't I take it in the stand and then talk to the lads before they're going to play the match or after the match? So these lads, this was real characters from Aston. We'll have to forgive the shirts, I think, but it was the first time. It was the first time they played on a proper football pitch, you know, a full-size football pitch. It was a really fantastic day for them, and Shirley FC did them proud. They gave them lots of little treats and things. So I'm able to go in there and talk to them and show them sort of pictures. Say, for example, one kid said to me, I thought, oh no, is this going to come up? What does Justin Fashanu look like? So I got a picture of Justin. I've got a portrait of Justin Fashanu, told them about Justin Fashanu. And it was a really educated discussion. It wasn't one of those silly discussions that you can get. It was absolutely marvellous. So I'll take that portable exhibition anywhere. So I've used that in the Heritage Project. I tend to use everything that works, I've used in the Heritage Project. So if I just go down here, there it is, the role and experience of soldiers of colour. I'm not going to go into that because we've all discussed that and we all know the impact, so I don't think I really need to go into that. The most important thing is to mention the Phil's archive. And here you can see some of the things that Phil's got from the Ministry of Defence. I think Phil mentioned that on the day that Walter Tull died, there's this, not that particular notice, but there's a notice saying that we don't want soldiers of colour as army officers. And also, some of the things that Phil wished that he had have photocopied have mysteriously disappeared. And Phil said, I can't say too much because I am on film, but that we can't find them and there is no chance that we can find them, which is very unusual, isn't it? So, please feel free to use all that information if you need to, and we will add to that. Am I all right for time, Ian? Okay. So, the big plan, work in schools, workshops, drama, visuals, posters. We wanted to work with volunteers, other groups, we want an exhibition, everything on the website, a big finale. That was the idea of the project. I found that I had to be very picky with the schools and I had to be flexible with the project. I think I was talking to Ian at the start, before the event started, saying that I had to be open, I had to be flexible, because I detected certain schools just wanted to have us in as a tick box exercise. I don't know if you've found that, Horace. And others, I actually sort of managed to sort of get sent an email which shouldn't have been sent to me saying, oh, this would be great. We could get 100 kids in the assembly and it would be great for inclusion. And I'm thinking, no, that is not what it's about. I don't want that. I want to build up a relationship. I want to build up a rapport with the kids. Get them to research. You know, we're a catalyst, a sort of grenade thrown in the room. I want you to start to discuss and to find out for yourself. So I started off with Phil at a school that I'd worked with previously, just to sort of get a feel for how we were going to do it. This is an academy school in Leamington. So originally I was going to just work in Coventry, but we moved out to Birmingham, Northampton, even went down to London as well. So again, drama, I was new to drama, but you all know kids love drama. Kids love making up stories. If you listen to young kids play, it's all about discussion. It's all about script writing, really. So for me as a visual artist, it was great to work with Phil Vasili, who's a filmmaker and a writer, to see how it was done. And so I learnt a lot, and hopefully Phil learnt quite a lot about working with me with the visual arts. I like to use quite a lot of mixed media in the visual arts as well. So this was mostly young girls who were in this class and produced marvellous work. This school here, myself and Phil fell in love with this school. I was so pleased because I was born in Birmingham, lived quite a lot around Shard End, Castle Brom, and we went into a primary school, the Snappily Guardian Angels Catholic Primary School, and they were absolute diamonds. They were absolutely vibrant, super intelligent. I can't praise them enough. Comparison with quite a few of the other schools we worked with, they really shone. Absolutely amazing. So we've worked with them on a more regular basis, and I'll be doing more work with them. So just on the legacy side of things, Ian, you know, that's going to go on past the project basically. So with these guys, this is down in London. I'll go through there quickly. I worked with another school in Coventry, working as sort of volunteers. So I like this image. This young lady did that image. I thought that was quite you have to remember that it's sort of an adolescent image, but there's quite an impact. I'm quite didactic in my teaching and my artwork, so I appreciate that. Postcards. What I did with the Guardian Angels was to get them to do a visual image and then on the back to do some writing. And of course schools like that because it's the national curriculum, the writing, and you can link it in. But what we did with the kids was we were saying, well, if you were writing back to your parents or to your lover or to your mother, would you tell them the truth? Or would you sort of sugarcoat it? Are you going to say this is absolutely horrible? Or no, I'm okay and I'm well? Or if you were writing to fellow sort of colleagues or soldiers or friends, and you can say, this is hell, but you wouldn't perhaps say that to your mother. So the kids thought about that, and they did some nice pieces. That one, I don't think you can see that, but there's a young lad saying, I don't like the food because I don't like casserole. So of course, you know, World War I was strewn with casserole, wasn't it? Or I don't mind the shelling, but the casserole. Oh. And this lad here, I put this lad in here because he made great strides. He wasn't great at the visual side of things, but his writing was immaculate. He wrote to myself and Phil little circles with sort of these things about war and peace, and they were just amazing. He really just got it off to pat, and he developed so much. To say I relate. What I like about teaching is the relationships you can get, and you can actually see kids growing in confidence, and particularly in primary school where you have more female teachers and not a lot of male teachers. So for myself and Phil to go in and be a little bit more, you know, offbeat, not offhand, but offbeat anyway. This lad really came into his own, and we were just so pleased. I'll start to wrap this up in a second, so don't worry, Ian. What I do a lot of work with professional football organisations, because the Black Looks exhibition traces the history of black and Asian footballers. It also has information panels. It's used across the board. I started, you can see from the woman Emma Clark, I did a parallel exhibition about women's football, tracing the history of women's football, but I got 8 female artists to do the artwork instead of just me doing it all. And again, we found a hidden history of women's football. It comes earlier back now to the 1881. So you have the Dick Kerr ladies, which is a fantastic sort of example. People like Teresa Bennett in the 1970s as well, so another great example. So I take my exhibition to, that's Show Races in the Red Card, who based in Newcastle and Sunderland but work throughout the country. They really put on great events. They do great events, and you can see the mass of kids there at the bottom, 100 kids at a time. So I take my portable exhibition in and I'll do a workshop with the youngsters. So I've actually put the heritage artwork in as well. As I was saying to Ian, if I have an opportunity, I don't want to just have this separate heritage thing going on. If I can segue it in, I will, but I will use the heritage exhibition forevermore and carry on working with it and carry on using it. So I do use that one. Last thing here, to say apologies for racing through very quickly. This is, I live in Coventry. The War Memorial Park is pretty close by, so I thought I'll have a finale at the War Memorial Park. And there's quite a lot to see and do there. So that was our finale event, and you can see what we did was we got the kids, I sort of created a lesson where the kids made a poppy, and both myself and Phil, we look at war from a sort of an anti-war perspective. I mean, I'm a bit sick and tired of people saying we'll learn from the mistakes of the First World War if we research it. Well, we don't, because we've had so many other wars. We're not learning from the mistakes of the First World War. So we were quite pleased that a lot of them had almost done like a peace poppy, and that was the 2 schools at the end there. And I think if you can get this on film, that's me and Phil. I think you can see that it's a spitting image, right? It's a spitting image. Your cameraman, come on, get this in, please. Come on, this could be the killer shot. There I am, right? Okay. Yeah, you're done. So if anybody wants to, because I've completed the project and gone through quite a few of the practicalities, please feel free to come and have a chat. and a bit of PR if you need any information. So thank you very much. Cheers.